Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Gianluca Masi speaking on the behalf of the Virtual Telescope Project, and let me say that it's such a pleasure to be here this evening to celebrate together the International Observe the Moon Night. Such a very precious initiative has been around for quite a long time now. The first edition was in 2010. It was launched by NASA, and since then, every year we are here to celebrate the wonders of our natural satellite, its beauty, its science, and its many meanings through the human culture. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to discover the many meanings of our neighbor, cosmic neighbor, our beautiful moon. The Virtual Telescope Project has been an official supporter of this NASA initiative over the last 5 years, since 2019, and we are very proud for this role, and we are doing our best to really share the wonders, the knowledge we have about our moon, and again hoping to inspire you to have a look out there and enjoy the wonders of our cosmic neighbor and our night sky as well. Tonight I must say that the weather here in Italy is not as good as I wanted it to be, because we have clouds in Tuscany, where our robotic facility, the Virtual Telescope Project facility, is located. Quite incredibly, here in Rome the sky is relatively good. This is, what happens when you have something important to do. But no matter this, I'm positive. I believe that we will have some good time together, because I have some stuff I will be sharing with you to properly celebrate this magic night. I want to thank, first of all, my colleagues at NASA for selecting the Virtual Telescope live feed and suggesting the opportunity to celebrate the International Observe the Moon Night with us on their website. So thank you very much to them, and I wish to everyone here a very good International Night of the Moon. So let's start and let's see a few things about our satellite. First of all, I want to share with you an image of our moon that I grabbed some time ago, a few years ago, and hopefully this image will bring to you some of the beauty of the moon, and of course also of the place from where I captured the image. As I said, our natural satellite is precious not only for its scientific value, and let me say that the moon is the only natural place other than the Earth where we have already been more than half a century ago. But I want to share with you also the moon under a different perspective, which is well included in the goals of the International Observe the Moon Night. That is, the moon as a beautiful cosmic natural object inspiring the human beings since the very beginning, since the origin. And this is, you can see the full moon rising above Rome. I don't know if someone out there, some of you had a chance to visit Rome. If not, just try to have this opportunity, and here you can recognize some monuments of the city with the moon on the background rising. This image is dating back to December 2016, and it was a so-called supermoon. By the way, another supermoon is coming in a couple of nights. In the night between 17 and 18 of September, we will have the second supermoon of the year. A nice opportunity if you want to enjoy our natural satellite. Supermoon is not a scientific term, has nothing to do with science, but I must admit that it is a very, very efficient term to describe something happening with the moon. You know, the moon is orbiting around our Earth. It takes a bit less than 1 month to the moon to complete an orbit. And this orbit is not a perfect circle, it is a bit eccentric, what we call an ellipse. So the moon is sometimes closer, sometimes farther than an average distance. The average distance of the moon is about 384,000 kilometers. So when the moon is at the minimum distance, we say it is at the perigee. When the moon is at the farthest distance, it is the apogee. And when the full moon happens with our satellite close to its minimum distance, of course, it is a bit larger, being a bit closer, and for the same reason, a bit brighter than on average. But trust me, I believe that nobody out there will recognize any difference. But underline that, this is why we call it supermoon. But as I said, you will not see anything shocking, but it is a nice opportunity, I believe, to go out there and look up to discover the moon, of course, but even the beautiful cosmic scenario out there. And this is a supermoon dating back to December, as I say, December 2016. I want to share with you more images from Rome because I love connecting the beauty of our night sky, in this case of the moon, with the monuments, the legendary monuments in Rome. And perhaps this monument is an icon of the eternal city. It is the Colosseum, and here you see the full moon rising behind the Colosseum. Even this image is a few years old. I remember very well that evening. Please consider this. The full moon, by definition, is just visible from the Earth on the opposite direction than the sun. So the full moon rises when the sun is setting. So just put your shoulder in the direction of the sun setting and you will see the moon rising. So enjoying the full moon rising is very special because you will see the moon rising while the terrestrial environment is still bright enough because of the twilight to enjoy the landscape. This is why I call the twilight, when the full moon is rising, magic. And this is what I try to capture most of the times I go out there to image the full moon while it is rising. I underline at sunset. And that evening I was just waiting for the moon rising behind the Colosseum, but it started raining and I was just going to go away with all my imaging gear there, but at some point with my eyes I spotted some evidence of light behind the Colosseum, and I understood that the clouds were perhaps opening, and so I decided to stay, and I was rewarded with this gift that is the full moon rising with some clouds and adding something very, very special. And I think you can clearly see all this. I want to send my greetings to Steve, to Yossel and Francis. They wrote on the chat. I want to welcome them, and of course all of you. So happy International Observe the Moon night, and we are here to share some, I hope, interesting things and considerations about the moon. As I say, the moon is the closest natural object out there, with the only exception perhaps of the dusty particles creating meteors. So the moon is the first astronomical object you find when you ideally leave the Earth to reach the cosmic depths. And its distance is, as I said, on average is 384,000 kilometers, and it takes a bit more than 1 second to the light at its own speed, the speed of light, of course, to cover the distance between the Earth and the moon. So if you could travel at the speed of the moon, at the light, sorry, you could reach the moon in a bit more than 1 second. You will start now, and after 1 second and a bit more, you will be already on the moon. So it is very close on astronomical terms, and if you consider that many astronomical objects are light years far away, just to remind you about the proximity of our moon. And the first one to spot the moon through a telescope has been Galileo Galilei, and he just pointed one of his own telescopes to the moon late in 1609, and he discovered the presence on the moon of craters of many irregular features, and those features were in huge contrast with the ideas by Aristotle and others that the moon was just a perfect body. So the vision of Galileo just introduced a completely different idea about the moon, with craters, valleys, mounds, exactly as on the planet Earth, with a very huge difference. There is no life there, of course. But let me show you another image after. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. We stay again close to the Colosseum, and I want to show you this picture to you. I hope that you will enjoy this, because it is a very special image. Those of you with some experience will recognize this is, of course, a lunar eclipse. You see 3 lunar discs, because this is a composition, because I just added 3 different images with the moon at the totality, the central lunar disk, the red one, and you have a bit, just 2 other lunar disks, you see, describing just before the totality and just after the totality. So this way you can have an idea of the beauty of a lunar total eclipse. And perhaps you recognize the Colosseum in the same image. And this image is coming from the unforgettable 28th of July 2018 total lunar eclipse. For that event, I organized a public event with a few colleagues at the Parco Archeologico del Colosseo, and more than 10,000 people joined the opportunity to observe the red moon with the red planet, because Mars was in the same spot of the sky that evening, and all this above the Arc of Constantine and the Colosseum. Trust me, the vision was unforgettable, and at least I can share with you this nice image, just summarizing that wonderful eclipse. The eclipse, the total lunar eclipse I just mentioned, it 28th of July 2018, has been the longest, has been the one offering the longest totality of this century. So it was a record-setting total lunar eclipse, and this image with a fragment of Colosseum, with the beauty of the total eclipse, I hope will keep my memories alive from that event for a long time. You could easily conclude that I love the Colosseum, because again, here it is, the Colosseum on the foreground with the full moon rising just behind it. Even this image is a few years old. It should be about 8 years ago, if I remember right. It was July at that time, I remember. And again, this image is hopefully bringing to you the idea behind all this. That is connecting the beauty of our local places with the beauty of the Queen of the Night, our natural satellite. The moon has been out there for a bit more than 4 billion years. It formed after a very huge collision with an ancient planet, more or less of the size of Mars, and all the debris left around after that huge collision contributed to build the Moon. So the Moon is a neighbor that we acquired after the Earth formation. And studying the Moon, we can learn a lot about our planet, our home planet, and of course also about the origin of our solar system. And as you know, and we will see them later, you can also see on the Moon many craters. They are the leftover of collisions with asteroids. So the Moon is telling us how often asteroids had an impact in this region of the solar system, because of course there is no reason to believe that the Earth was impacted by less asteroids than the Moon. So seeing the Moon, understanding, just trying to estimate the impact frequency from asteroids registered on the Moon is basically a very good idea about the same frequency for our own planet, the Earth. The Earth is able to cancel, to blur evidence from very old collisions quite quickly, because you have winds, you have water, you have the natural elements. They are not acting on the Moon, so the Moon is keeping very old memories from the very old past so well. So this is also another reason to consider our Moon important. Just to give you an idea of craters and so on, just have a look at this image. This image is coming from one of the telescopes, part of the Virtual Telescope project. And here you can see many features, like the craters, like the lunar maria, the lunar seas, basaltic formations. But the craters you see here, as I said, are gifts from past asteroid impacts. So just counting how many asteroid impacts happened on the Moon is giving us a good idea about something similar happened for the Earth, with the Earth having basically no geological memories of those past catastrophic events. So studying the Moon is also very important to address this important question: how often the Earth has been reached by an asteroid. So studying the Moon is also is a very good idea to better understand ourselves. But let me continue displaying you a few images of the Moon as taken from Rome. Here it is. You can perhaps recognize on the very right the St. Peter Dome, another iconic monument. You can see in the Rome skyline, even if formally it is a different country, Vatican state, but still I believe this is an iconic monument, part of the Roman treasures, you know. So, but here you can see the Moon has a sharp crescent, because as you know, the Moon, while it is orbiting around the Earth, and we mentioned it, it takes a bit less than 1 month to the Moon to conclude an orbit. What we see is that the Moon moves in the sky. Every night you see the Moon moving east once compared to the previous night. And of course, even the fraction of its disk you see illuminated is changing, the so-called lunar phase. You are familiar perhaps with terms like full moon, first quarter, last quarter, or new moon. Those definitions refer to the amount of the lunar disk you see illuminated by direct solar light. The full moon is just showing you the lunar disk completely under the solar light. And how many of the lunar surface you see in its daylight, it depends from the relative position of the sun, the earth, and the moon. Okay? Another truly iconic image is this. You can see the Italian flag. This is an image I really wanted to capture for many years, and because this is important to remind, because not every full moon is rising in the same direction of the horizon, because the lunar orbit is quite complex. So if you see the moon rising behind a given monument, for example, is not obvious that the next lunation, that is after exactly after one lunar cycle, you will see the moon rising behind the same stuff. Okay, so sometimes if you really want to capture a given moon with a given monument, if you fail for many reasons, the weather for example, to capture that condition, sometimes you have to wait for years. And this combination with the Quirinale, the residence of the Italian president, with our national flag just behind the moon, the full moon, has been a configuration, a condition I've been looking forward to image for a few years, and I finally succeeded here. And this image was captured in August 2021, so this is a relatively new image, and it was a so-called blue moon, by the way. Perhaps the lunar image I love more is this. It is difficult to describe all the monuments visible here. The orange color is showing us Castel Sant'Angelo. Behind it you see the altar of Fatherland. You can see also Campidoglio, Araceli, Colosseum, Pantheon, and many other things. So again, this supermoon captured in May 2021 is honestly amazing. And I want to underline, this is a very important point in my own photographic activity. This is not a composition. This is a single shot image. The image you are seeing was inside the camera. This is why I am very proud of this. It is not a combination of a lunar image with a terrestrial image. You can do this by Photoshop, by the way, quite easily, but this is something I really don't like. I'm not interested in those kind of things, and I simply want that what I capture in my camera is natural. This is why I'm happy to share with you. So this image was born in the camera. I would say it was born in my mind, and then I did my best to have this image in the camera without any artifact. This is truly important for me to underline. Another full moon. I am full moon addicted, I must admit. Please forgive me for this. So I really hope this will bring to you some of the beauty, making me crazy every time I had the opportunity to look up and enjoy these amazing things. And again, I want to underline that this full moon was captured at sunset. So it was just the beginning of the evening. But the full moon is also going to set at the end of the night. That is at dawn, and this image was captured at dawn, and this image was captured in December 2017, and it was again a result of careful calculation to identify and isolate when I could image a full moon setting exactly behind the St. Peter Dome. At the very end, that night, that dawn, I must say, arrived, and it was in December 2017, and in fact, here it is a few minutes later, with the full moon perfectly behind the so-called lantern of the St. Peter Dome. Again, you can see the sun was just above the horizon. The very first solar rays were brightening the St. Peter Dome, and the full moon, as expected, because of the full moon geometric condition, was setting. And here it is, the result. Happy to share this to celebrate the beauty of our natural satellite. We have been there on our natural satellite 20 July 1969, and Michael Collins, one of the three astronauts, the three heroes above Apollo 11, was born in Rome, by the way. This is a very poorly known detail. Many people living here in Rome do not know that Michael Collins, the pilot of the lunar module, was born in Rome, not far from where I've been living in Rome for a few years. And in fact, there is a celebrating citation, just like a little monument, I would say, just beside the building where Michael Collins was born. And this image is a very young moon, a very sharp crescent, imaged at sunset just above the St. Peter Basilica. And I want to make clear you understand that effect. You see here very well. Let me see if I can find an image from my archives showing this feature even better. Let me see if this image should be enough. I'm just trying to upload a new image to share it with you to better explain what I have in mind. Okay, this should be enough. Sorry, my friends. Okay, here it is. Okay. Sorry, my friend, perhaps I did not show this one. Sorry. This is the St. Peter Basilica. Just embraced by out of this world colors at sunset, and above, hanging in the sky, you see the very sharp lunar crescent. But as you can see, you can basically see the entire lunar disk. A little fraction, you see it's very bright, the normal lunar crescent, but you can see the entire disk. I want to show you an image where this is perhaps even more apparent. Look at this. We call that penumbra, let's use this word, the Earthshine. It is a very, very elegant feature of the moon, of our night sky. The Earthshine, that is the effect to see the lunar disk where it is supposed to be night. The night, it is dark, you know. We are seeing a region of the moon where it should be completely dark. What is happening here? Well, it was Leonardo da Vinci, the very first one, more than 5 centuries ago, to explain, to provide a very reasonable, a very, logic explanation of this effect. Perhaps you have enjoyed working in the lunar light. Okay? At full moon, you can see in the middle of the night basically everything, because the moon is sending back from the sun enough light to see in the night. What will happen? What will happen on the moon? If you were there, where it should be night, in this image for example, in your sky, being on the moon, you should see a full Earth. Okay? And you can imagine how many light the Earth will spread in the lunar night, being much larger than the moon in the sky, because it is about 4 times larger in size. It is also much brighter, because you have plenty of oceans, you have cloudy systems, basically white, so with the capability to reflect most of the solar light just hitting them. So the Earthshine is just the effect of the light the Earth is sending on the moon. Because when the moon is close to its new phase, the Earth is full in the lunar sky, with plenty of light coming from the Earth in the lunar light. This is the Earthshine, and Leonardo da Vinci had the capability, to explain all this, my friends. Now, another image with the Earthshine as well, and the local Monte Mario Astronomical Observatory here in Rome. This is a wonderful place, by the way, to visit. If you will come in Rome, this is a place you have to consider for a visit. And perhaps between the observatory with the solar tower on the right and the lunar disk on the left, in the very center, you perhaps see a tiny dot of light that is planet Mars. Let's move again. The Earthshine. With this Earthshine again, we are celebrating, we continue celebrating the International Observe the Moon Night. This NASA initiative started in 2010, having our virtual telescope project as an official supporter since 2019. Gianluca Masi is speaking, founder and scientific director of the Virtual Telescope Project, and it's such a privilege to have the opportunity to celebrate the beauty of the moon with these images. The St. Peter Dome, again, with a very young, sharp lunar crescent, with a very beautiful, elegant Earthshine. Here it is, another full moon setting down behind the synagogue in Rome, and I invite you to note how the trees are showing different colors. The green ones are the closest trees, and as you move and look more distant trees, their green color is affected in the visibility of the color by the presence of the atmosphere, and this is why the color is basically changing. It is very hard, if you are looking a very distant tree, that you see the green color of the leaves, unless the sky is extremely clean, perhaps after a serious raining, you know. Wow, sometimes I forget the images I captured over so many years, and this is another beautiful vision. Now we are on a very old moon. That is the previous image with the sharp crescent was a moon a couple of days after the new moon. Here it is a very sharp crescent a couple of days before a new moon. So this image is just not at sunset, it is just before dawn. And you can see also on the top the bright light from Venus, and on the left Jupiter. So this is a very nice meeting between our moon, Venus and Jupiter. From time to time, even clouds had something special. Look here, for example. The full moon is just playing with some clouds, making some kind of cage while the full moon was setting. So this image was captured again at dawn. Another image with the moon setting, sorry, the moon rising at sunset. Now I share with you an image I captured this spring, Italian spring, so about 5 months ago. And I really love this image because you have the moon, you have a comet 11P Pons Brooks on the bottom right, and on the bottom left you have a planet Jupiter. But not only this, you also have a wonderful corona, the very, very delicate layer of clouds because of diffraction from the water drops, you know, made this effect that is creating that circular corona with basically all the rainbow colors. How beautiful the night sky is if you just give a look up there. Now I want to show you a few features of the moon as you will see them with a telescope. This is a full moon captured 25th of January this year. So you can enjoy, I hope, this beautiful image. I will check in the weather just to be sure, but unfortunately it is not favorable at all. Now some sort of close-up with a few craters, Theophilus, Cyrillus and Katharina. Craters, and Maria, that is the so-called lunar seas. Now let's change and look at different region. Here it is. I share again this. You saw this earlier. And now I want to mention that basically 1 year by now we will be back. We will go back to the moon with the Artemis 2 mission. The launch of Artemis 2 is scheduled for September next year, and the spacecraft, the Orion spacecraft part of the mission, will orbit around the moon before coming back to our own planet. So it is a very precious step after we had the Artemis 1 2 years ago. I remember this very well because the Virtual Telescope project was able to capture the Orion spacecraft when it was at its largest distance from the Earth, setting a record, and we managed to set a record as well, capturing the Orion capsule. And here it is, by the way. This image was truly mind-blowing. That very small dot of light was Artemis 1, the Orion spacecraft. And the spacecraft was 427,000 kilometers from us. And next year, Artemis 2, with humans on board, will orbit around the moon before coming back. So the next step after Artemis 2 will be having humans landing, as we did for the first time on July 1969 with Armstrong and Aldrin. Now I want to show you this fly on the moon from images, from actually a footage I recorded some time ago, and hopefully this will bring to you the wonder of our satellite even more. Not with the static images, but with a video, with the strange dance of the atmosphere. Adding something very special, at least to my eye. Wow, Copernicus. I'm amazed. I forgot how many times, thousands, literally, I looked at the moon through a telescope, and every time is the first time. Here we are, just flying above Fra Mauro, the original destination of Apollo 13, which never reached the moon, but made history after NASA was able to safely bring back home the astronauts. The Rupes Recti, the strange detail you see on the right, like a dark line. And now many craters, left over. The gifts. Oh, this is Clavius, the huge crater entering the field with small craters inside. It's difficult to describe everything, so I prefer to have the images speaking by themselves. How beautiful, my friends. Now, another of these videos, again coming from my first attempts. dating back to perhaps this video has perhaps 15 years, more or less. Look here, the Maria of the moon with those details like rocky waves, I mean, basaltic structures. The strange liquid effect you see is the turbulence of our atmosphere, okay? Never forget. That is the evidence that we have something that the moon does not have, the atmosphere, and we are very happy and lucky that we have it. What's making the appearance liquid is something making a huge difference between us and the moon, our atmosphere, my friends. So beautiful, my friends. So happy to share all this with you. We are basically landing on the moon. How beautiful these details are. And now this is Copernicus now, to me the most beautiful crater of the moon. I love this feature of our satellite. Copernicus is really an outstanding feature to be enjoyed even with small telescopes if you have this opportunity. So friends, here we are back after flying from the Earth to the moon, even enjoying, I hope it was a privilege for me at least to share them, those images I captured of our moon during the years when the moon was just pairing in beauty with the most precious monuments here in Rome, Italy. It has been a privilege for me, as I say, to bring the beauty of the moon to you, just reminding a few things about our natural satellite, the only astronomical object we personally visited after the Earth more than 50 years now, the Apollo 11, and those heroes that is Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins made possible for the human being to visit the moon. They were the first, and other astronauts have been there, and in a few years we will be back. Next year, as I say, the Artemis 2 mission will bring the first humans on an orbit around the moon, and the next step after the Artemis 2 mission, scheduled for September 2025, the next step after that will be landing on the moon with astronauts. So very exciting times are coming, my friends. And I really wish you a wonderful International Observe the Moon Night. This NASA initiative started in 2010, having our virtual telescope project as official supporter, and since 2019. But we have been celebrating the International Observe the Moon Night since the very first edition. 15 editions now, if I did the calculation right. By the way, it is not over, because while we are going to end this live feed now, I want to remind you that tomorrow at let me check the time to be sure I will not say something wrong. So my friends, tomorrow at 19:30 Universal Time, we will show in real time the potentially hazardous asteroid 2024 Ho-Hen coming close to us for such an asteroid. And it will be one of those close approaching asteroids, happening perhaps one time every 10 years. I mean, close approaching asteroids of that size will be coming on average one time every 10 years. So I really hope you had fun. I hope you will join us tomorrow. And I was checking if the weather was more favorable. No, so I confirm I cannot run the live observing session because of the clouds. No matter the technology, when clouds are around, we can sleep, my friends. So friends, if you want, tomorrow you can join our next live feed. We will be sharing 2 close approaching asteroids, so something very worth to see from the comfort of your home. That said, Gianluca Masi Virtual Telescope Project is thanking all of you for joining from everywhere on this beautiful planet, our home planet Earth. And I want to thank NASA for featuring our live feed as a proposal to their visitors to join and celebrate the International Observe the Moon Night 2024. That's all. I wish you a very good day, very good night, and I wish you to enjoy the beauty of the night sky. And the first step to discover the beautiful cosmos where we live is to admire our cosmic neighbor, our moon. Take care, my friends. See you tomorrow for another live feed covering those 2 amazing close approaching asteroids. Have a good night, take care, and keep looking at the stars.